We did it. We've teamed up, and together we've created something special. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network, and we're changing the game. We're covering Idaho high school sports in a way that you haven't seen before. Together, we'll be providing weekly breakdowns and recaps while helping uncover Idaho's top talents at a deeper level. Trust us, you want to be part of this. Boise Sports Talk, EBC Media, and the Game Time Guru bring you Gem Session. Let's get to work. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of Gem Session by the Idaho Underground Sports Network. I am joined today with AJ from EBC Media, Ty from Boise Sports Talk, and I am Shane from the Game Time Guru. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network. Excited to bring you another episode of the show where we're going to be breaking down the hoop session. Now, we had week one last week. Week one was amazing. We were at a ton of games, had so much stuff, so we're going to cover a lot today, a lot going on. We were at girls' games. We were at boys' games. We were catching 5A, 4A, everything. And you guys, if you're following us on Instagram, as you see here on the bottom, at Idaho Underground Sports, you would have seen that because we were at everything. Our stories were blowing up with different footage of all the different things. So today, we are bringing you guys some fire content. All right? A couple of housekeeping items. Obviously, follow us on Instagram. If you haven't figured that out by now, I don't know what you're doing. You're living under a rock. Also, go follow us on Twitter. It's slowly growing, that one. ID Underground SN on Twitter. Make sure to do that. We're going to be there. We got a lot of people following us. We got coaches following us. So, and that's at the college level too. So, hey, we're not trying to brag, but hey, we got connections at different places. So go follow us. You might, understand the importance of the connections that we have. Want to give a shout out to Eagle Ridge Apparel, Josh Swinton and fam. Those guys they're killing it. They do so much stuff for us. And we've got some special announcements coming your way in regards to merch that is on the way out. So Eagle Ridge gets us all hooked up. You guys are always seeing it. When you're at the games, you see AJ, sharing all the swag. He's got his EBC flames. He's got the Idaho Underground Sports flames. He's got all the swag, and it's done by Eagle Ridge Apparel. Now, it was also awesome. I want to give a shout out. My former high school basketball coach his daughter has a connection. She was coming to get her swag, but it was funny because I go up to talk to Coach Roberts. I'm like, Coach Roberts, haven't seen you for almost 20 years. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And then he's like, oh, my daughter's coming to pick up a shirt. So it's so cool. We got the flames. She was coming to talk to AJ. Had no idea there was a connection there. Find out she plays volleyball over there at Eagle, and there's a connection. But anyways, it's super, super cool connecting. Got the flames. There's always swag going out, and it's all thanks to Eagle Ridge Apparel. So thank you guys. All right, so I'm going to be full disclosure. I told the guys this before we started recording. I have started my clean eating, and it is not good for me right now. So I apologize if I stumble over my words. I like to eat. Now it's time to eat healthy again. I work out, don't eat healthy. So I apologize in the midst of this conversation if it ends up going spacey. But that's why we're going to let the guys talk. First things first, we got to give a little shout out to the 4A side of things. This week, there was so much going on the 4A side of things for basketball. So much good basketball being played across the state of Idaho. So I want the guys to talk a little bit about that. Give some love to our 4A guys because holy cow, we saw some high-level basketball from some of these 4A squads. So first I'm going to start out with Ty. Talk to us about what you saw from some of the 4A squads. I know you covered a couple of teams, BK being one of them, but give us some insight as to what you saw from 4A.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to see BK in action twice, saw Middleton twice. Really impressed with these guys. I don't know the full record breakdown this past week of 4A versus 5A teams, but I know that the 4A teams have the advantage in that. They came out swinging this week. To touch on BK, they took down Boise and then took care of Meridian. Really handled both teams fully in control. Really well coached unit. I really like what they've done with their rotation. They get the right guys in at the same time. Defensively, all of their guys know where they need to be. And offensively, they move the ball well and get going in transition. Got a bunch of transition buckets, and that's in large part due to their defensive IQ and just knowing where those passing lanes are and knowing what the other teams are trying to do and just being able to simply go and dominate them on both sides of the floor. Blake Hawthorne has been an absolute force. He's probably one of those top guys in contention for Player of the Week, honestly. He had 3 really great performances. Getting it done down low, has hit the mid-range. Defensively has been a force. I mean, this is a big body kid. That's a man out there. I shouldn't call him a kid. That's a full grown man out there on the court. But between him, Aiden McGarvin, Tommy Hunter, BK has really, really impressed. I mean, they've got just high level athletes that are all built. Like they've been working in the off season, you can tell, and they got a fire start to the season, 3-0, first 3-0 team on the year, and right now they're moving their way to the top of our power rankings for the 4A. So Bishop Kelly's my team to watch right now, but there's a plethora of these 4A teams, which I'm sure AJ is going to touch on more of them, that impressed all week long.
AJ, take it over, man.
Yeah, no, Vallivue is a team that we had a chance to see, and they were very impressive. They beat Centennial at Centennial, Centennial didn't shoot the ball well. That's a testament to the defense that Vallivue played. I think Centennial was 8 for 27 from 3. Vallivue was ready to go. They showed up and shot 10 for 14 from the 3. That's insanity. That's not normal. But they were very high efficient shots. I mean, wide open threes. Jacob Martinez had 31. He's potential player of the year at the 4A level, at least in the SIC. I know Tyler Medeiros is back, but at this point, Jacob Martinez he's leading the way. And then I think in his second game, they beat Capital. I think he had 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. So he's ready to roll. He's rolling. Vallivue looked really, really good. Beating Centennial at Centennial for me was impressive. Coach Mario knows what he's doing. Shout out for the Flames. He threw me after the game, just some fresh gear. Vallivue is going to definitely get some more love. I'm going to go check them out Tuesday against Rocky. I think a couple of you guys may join, but Vallivue is very good. Middleton, for me, is a team that we have been discussing often. We saw them play overall 3 times. They did not look good against Bora, a team we thought they should have dominated just based on their size and experience and all that. And then they barely beat a new look and young Rocky Mountain team who was actually, I think Rocky was maybe more impressive than Middleton was unimpressive, but Middleton was still unimpressive in that game as well. Came down, and I think they were 11 for 30 on free throws and just continue to give Rocky a chance to win the game. And then Middleton finally goes home, first home game, and they play very well. They get up 9 on Eagle until Hudson Van Alphen pops off and gets Eagle right back in it. And then it was kind of back and forth, and Eagle took control end of the third, into the fourth, and ended up winning that game by almost double digits. I think it was 8-point win. But Middleton looked more like the Middleton team I think we expected to see. But I'm trying to figure out who they are. And Sawyer Hansen is just flat out not getting enough minutes for me. We've talked about that as well. You guys know him very well. You both have coached him, I believe. He's a force. He maybe has been their most efficient guy when you look at minutes and numbers. He's been the best offensive rebounder I've seen this year, maybe besides Blake Hawthorne. He's all over the place. He's physical. We haven't seen the big 3 from Middleton play together yet. And Day, Hansen, and Medeiros. And Medeiros is playing on the wing, so I'm trying to figure that out. But also a shout out to Talmadge Stuckey, another guy who you guys are familiar with, who was leading scorer in that game the other day against Eagle. He's put on some muscle. He's balling out. He's been working out with Coach Jordan Hensland from T3, and his game has changed. So I think they're going to get better. New coach still, new system, but they're dropping in our rankings, which was a conversation, like I said, that we had, and it was tough to do, but we felt like it had to be done. But yeah, the 4A teams are looking good. Preston had a nice win against, I think it was Highland. And so another 4A over 5A team. So there's a lot of good 4A teams. Pocatello, who's coming down for the Owyhee tournament. Ryan Payne and Julian Bowie, one of my favorite duos in Idaho. They're going to come down and show us what they're made of. The freshman from Century, Isaiah Harwell, had 23 in his first game. Century got a win. So 4A, like you guys said, they deserve love. A lot of good teams. Hillcrest beat a good team from out in Utah, and then they lost 2. But Hillcrest is looking scary as well. So who knows what's going to happen at the 4A level? It's wide open with a lot of ballers. Sorry, pull the guru. A lot of ballers.
There's a couple things I want to touch on with that. Speaking on that Middleton game, this is the big 3 led team, right? With their 3 bigs. but it was their guards that kept them in this game Saturday night. Owen Gravier, is that how you say his last name? Okay, Owen Gravier has played great. I would say he's maybe been their best overall player through this first week. Just consistent, moves well without the ball, gets himself in position to get open jumpers. I'm impressed with their guard play. They first couple games was kind of getting it figured out, but then that Eagle game, both of them popped off and kept them in it when their bigs were ultimately underwhelming. But I think that they're going to get it figured out once they get, both the front court and the back court going. That's going to be a scary team, just like we know that they can be. Another thing I want to ask, so I haven't gotten a chance to watch Vallivue play yet, but I want to know if a team is able to take Jacob Martinez out of the game, do they have other guys that are going to be able to step up and get them, to that level to be a contender?
So Jacob Martinez's younger brother, Jace Martinez, was really impressive against Centennial. Really impressive defensively, really impressive attacking the basket. He's not the shooter yet that Jacob is, but he handled the ball well. Hunter Cook, he had 3 threes on the wing. They got him looks. They got sets for him. He's another guard who was handling the ball. He was impressive. And then their big Jake and Calhoun was dominant on the glass, and that's something that Centennial is going to struggle with, I think, is rebounding. And if they do, they're going to underachieve. But I think the answer to your question is yes. There are some guys. Jace Martinez didn't look like he was a younger player, his first time playing varsity ball. I think his brother being there gives him a certain level of confidence that I think is ultimately going to really, really help them. But I think his play is going to be the answer to your question. Like, because Jacob's going to be box and one, or they'll do a triangle and 2 with him and make these other guys beat him at times. I'm sure Rocky may try and throw something at him, but it's going to be interesting to see. So it's a question mark, but I think they have the guys. And based on the type of dog Jacob Martinez is, I'm sure his little brother's the same way. So Jace Martinez is coming, I think, but he's going to have to prove that first.
I'm excited to watch Vallivue this week. I think, AJ, you alluded to it. We're probably going to have a couple of us over there, hopefully at the Rocky Vallivue game, to kind of see how Vallivue does. They are stellar. They've got some stellar athletes, but I am curious to see, like Ty said, what happens if a team can neutralize the Jacob Martinez threat that they have. So good ball coming out of the 4A level, guys. We look forward to covering more of it. I mean, I had that chance to be over at Columbia, and I was really impressed with the Keller brothers. I thought they were awesome. Mackay Alexander had a great game himself as he's coming to. He's developing into a dominant post. He's still got some stuff to work on with his game, but he was getting more and more comfortable. He was playing some big boy ball, which I was excited to see. And so even Columbia right now, as some might say, that might be more of a rebuilding year for them. They still look like they got some solid pieces to that puzzle who can compete. I loved watching the Keller brothers, some high quality basketball over there, and both of them helped at pivotal points of that game too. I mean, I think it was Luke who came in there in the third quarter, had 10 points or close to it, put him on a run. And then Jack had himself the closeout period in the fourth quarter and hitting the free throws and hitting big time shots. So Columbia has some good stuff too. So shout out to the 4A level of basketball. Fire week for all of you guys. Now, we're going to go over a couple of the games that we were at. Like I said, if you guys aren't following us on Instagram, you're living under a rock. You should be doing that already and seeing what we're doing. We have the content coming your way. I mean, I got to give a shout out. I was only able to make 2 games this week, but it seemed like these guys were doing something every single night. Shout out to all you guys, for AJ, Ty, and Sherry, who were doing your thing. And for all the guys, even Coach Buff up north, getting us some stuff. We got Sutton over back east. We got Malachi helping us out with some of the footage here in the Valley as well. So we got a lot of people helping us out. So we appreciate everybody out there. Shout out to all you guys. But first, let's start with a quick rundown. We're going to do a quick, 60-second breakdown. We'll start with Middleton Rocky. We've already talked about it. That was on Tuesday. AJ, give us your breakdown. 60 seconds. Let's go.
Yeah, Rocky Mountain was impressive. Jack Andrews, who I think is probably their best player, he was hurt. He played hurt, and he balled out. He kept him in the game. He was their leader. Tegan Sweeney as well. He was a man on the glass. Drew Sauer was a big surprise for me defensively. He got into Medeiros. Tyler ended up having a pretty good game, but you even asked Tyler after the game, and he was like, yeah, man, Drew Sauer, he's got some clamps. So Drew Sauer, I would love to see them put Drew Sauer on Martinez this Tuesday and see that matchup. Riley Dane's a guy that he had some buckets as well. They've got a couple freshmen, Isaiah Reed, Tayshawn Reese. They're going to get it figured out. I'm a fan of Coach Pegram. The players love him. My man Jaden Lunt had a nice game against the big three from Middleton. I think they've got some pieces, and they've got the ability to potentially make some noise. And who knows if they can put it together, go on a run, because Rocky is always confident. They always think they should win, no matter what the sport, because they're Rocky Mountain. And this team is more physical than I thought they were going to be. And that's, a testament to Tegan Sweeney and just kind of the culture that's been built there since they got started. It's almost got that football feel where we're just going to out physical you, even though this is a smaller team. I liked what I saw from them from a confidence standpoint. They didn't back down at all. They jumped on Middleton. Middleton had to fight back, and they had to fight and claw. But Rocky was outmanned, but you never felt like they felt that way. So really excited to see Rocky go at Vallivue after what they just did with Middleton. We saw these Rocky guys multiple times this week after we watched their game, and we know they're ready to go. And they think they could put something together and surprise not only us and everybody else, but all their classmates, all their peers, because they've got some pieces, man. They've got guys that can play basketball and are hard-nosed. So we will see what happens, but Vallivue is coming. So
it's going to be exciting. We told you guys before, like Rocky was one of the things as one of the teams I was excited to see, just because it was one of those, like, how do they shift now? New coaching staff, everything is new a little bit. Some of the players aren't playing, but it appears after that game, they're rising to the occasion, and that's exciting. It's some people would say it's disappointing. It's not. It's fun to watch the changes and see how people adapt to the change within that school. So I'm excited to see the rest of their season. Go ahead, AJ. What were you gonna say?
I just wanted to mention that once again, Middleton was underwhelming for me. Like, I felt like that's a game they should have dominated, just like Bora. But you feel like they're putting it together, but they underwhelmed, and there's some things that I think they need to clean up for them to go back to back, like Ty was saying.
And we'll get to the Middleton Eagle game here in just a second. But, Ty, I want you to touch base on this game right here. You happen to be able to catch BK at Meridian, the reigning state champions, opening at home against BK, who we've just talked about, how dominant they've been so far in the first week. But what did you see in that game?
Yeah, so I think Meridian's kind of a team that's in a similar boat to Rocky, almost kind of a rebuild year, a prove-it year. They don't have a ton of young guys. They actually have quite a few seniors on the squad, but a lot of them are first-time varsity players, or it's their first time really getting a lot of action on varsity. So they came out. They actually started the game really well. They hung with BK for most of this one. Austin Ramos was shooting the ball well. That BK zone has proven to be just tough for opposing offenses. Had Meridian been able to knock down some more threes, they actually had a chance at this game. Brock Vogel, we know he's a great shooter. He's going to get it going. He had a rough night that first game, just couldn't find the net, but that happens at game one. But they moved the ball well. They lacked size, had a hard time with Hawthorne down low. But this BK team, like we just touched on, I mean, that's a contender right there. So for Meridian to start their season with a prove-it year and to compete with them was a good sign. But ultimately, they were outgunned and outmatched for the entirety of it. Some good pieces for them moving forward, though. It'll be good for them to get Davis Thacker back eventually. But Jaden Hudgens filled in nicely. He had a solid game, probably 10 points, 5 rebounds. They had some energy guys come off the bench. My guys, Blake Gardner, Caden McKnight. They came in, did their thing, played efficiently, good defense. But they need somebody to step up offensively if this team is going to get to that next level. Right now, for me, it was kind of the Austin Ramos show offensively, and they need somebody else to help him shoulder the burden a little bit. And I'd like to see Ledoux be one of those guys personally.
Shots out there, man. Ledoux, you hear it. Okay, rise to the occasion. Let's go. We love Ledoux as well. Let's get it. I always said, one of the things about Meridian was, will they have enough scoring power? You can play as great defense as you want in the games, any sport for that matter. Great defense, awesome. It's really cool. But if you can't put the ball in the bucket, you don't win. If you don't score touchdowns, you don't win. When you're fighting, if you don't punch the other guy, you don't win. You can't win. You have to be able to produce some sort of offense. And so that's going to be the question moving forward. It looks like after what Ty saw from Meridian, at least, who can put the ball in the bucket outside of just Ramos? We got to have other guys step up. Do they have the talent to do so? Yes, I believe they do. It's just going to be AJ talked about it last week. Meridian's going to be one of those teams where give them some time. Like they're going to take a second to get their flow. This is not the Meridian of last year, and that's okay. That's high school sports for that matter. But you have to figure out your pieces and where they all fit.
I mean, it's a big moment for them. They lost one game last season, and they started the season 0-2. So adversity has struck immediately to start the season. How they respond is, it's in their hands. But I think, like you just said, they've got the guys to do it.
Absolutely. AJ, you talked about this game, but I want to get the quick rundown from both sides on this. Vallivue at Centennial. Centennial was popping that night. You guys were over there. Cherry was getting some footage too. Shout out to the Centennial student section too. All the fans, you could sense it when you guys were doing your stories and getting the highlights. It was a pretty crazy atmosphere. But for Vallivue to come in there and get the win, you had already talked about how well they shot and stuff, was pretty crazy. What else did you see out of that you haven't already said?
I mean, just defensively, Vallivue was impressive. I didn't think they were going to be able to guard Centennial. Centennial missing shots, is not something that they're going to be able to do and win games, in my opinion, because they shoot so many threes. Andrew Deaton and Hayden Fletcher, the two juniors, who are two of the better shooters in the league, that neither of them got going. I think Fletcher had 1 or 2 attempts. But what this team needs to understand is every night it's going to probably be somebody different. And that's going to be okay. All these guys could potentially be 15 to 20 point a game guys in different situations, but they're all together. And if they can just worry about getting the efficient shot, they're going to be really tough to beat. But Vallivue defensively is very good. Jacob Martinez shows that if you have senior leadership or just upperclassmen leadership, especially at the point guard position, you're going to be very tough to beat. And he was in complete control. Centennial has 4 or 5 of the best guards in the Valley, and Jacob Martinez was the best player on the floor. He's the best guard on the floor, and it is a testament to his leadership, making sure he looked over at Coach Mario at one point, and Mario was trying to tell him something, and he just went like this. He said, "Hey, I got it. We good. We're on the same page." And Mario was like, "Okay," and just zipped it, and Martinez went and did his thing and just let a great point guard, a next level point guard, is an extension of the coach. Jacob Martinez needs to start getting looks from some of these, at least local colleges, because he is that. He's got leadership. He can shoot it. He can get to the basket. He's wiry, strong, and he's just a dog. And he's a tough kid. But Centennial, Tyler Shipp, for me, was a big eye-opening surprise. For me, he's one of the best players in the league. I thought he'd be a top 5 player. Now I'm thinking he's a top 2 or 3 player in the league after what I saw. He's got to be able to go to takeover mode. I know it's a new team, their first game, couple transfers, all that. But Tyler Shipp has the ability to just be like, okay, my boys aren't playing well. They're not shooting well. I'm going to go and go take the game over. Hayden Fletcher needs to be more aggressive. He understands that. He's one of the top juniors in Idaho. Kaden Christensen had sprained his ankle a couple days before the game. He was a little gimpy, but still had 12. Weston Johnson had 13 points, 9 assists. They've got the pieces. They didn't shoot well. When they do shoot well, they could score 100 points. We're going to find out this week. They got Capital, the real CHS. I think that'll be a good game for them to find a rhythm. And then our game of the week, we've got Owyhee coming to town. So they better figure it out quickly or they're going to get embarrassed at home. I promise you that. But both of these teams potentially could make a run at the state title this year, in my opinion. Centennial didn't shoot well. I'm hearing it from everybody. I thought they had shooters. Hey, man, you live and die by the 3. Shooting's contagious. Watch out, because I will be talking about this year when these guys drop 80 to 100 points in a game and hit 15 to 20 to 33s. Then we'll talk about it. But they're real. Vallivue, I think, was more impressive. Vallivue was more impressive than Centennial was unimpressive. So Vallivue for me is a team to watch.
Absolutely. Shout out to them. But yeah, I mean, it's the beginning of the season. I love that you were talking about like Tyler Shipp. You spoke to us, AJ, like immediately after that game and told us this kid is going to be one of the top players in the SIC. He has the potential to do so. He already looks like it. But, when this year is awesome because you've got new faces and new places. And so it's going to be a matter of finding your rhythm. It's first week of the season. And the thing with basketball, it's a little different than football. Basketball, you have some time to kind of get that together because there's a lot of moving pieces and you got to figure out your rhythm. And if you hit the stride at the right time, sometimes that's what matters in the sport of basketball. So next game we're going to talk about, y'all were over at this one. This was special for Idaho Underground Sports Network, covering some girls basketball. And again, shout out to you guys. It was all 3 of you. It was you, Cherry. So Boise Sports Talk, Cherry, and EBC. My bad, I said you. But all you guys were over there at the Boise Timberline girls basketball game. Talk to us about what you guys saw there. I want to start with Ty.
Yes. So the girls scene, jumping into it, really we're trying to create this landscape because ultimately there just hasn't been a lot of publicity for the girls. But we're trying to change that, give them some love. We saw really actually a great game Friday night at Boise High School. Boise got off to a great start. I think they held Timberline to, was it 2 points in the first quarter?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Boise got out to a great start. But ultimately, Audrey Taylor and their post number 50, who I'm now blanking on her name.
Sophie Glancy.
That's the one. Thank you. Sophie Glancy. They took care of business. Glancy, I think, finished the game 7 for 8 or 7 for 9 field goals. Audrey Taylor dropped 25, and her shooting is what ultimately lifted Timberline over Boise. I mean, I've got pictures of girls in her face, and she's just pulling threes. Bottom of the net, just drilling them. So she had a great game. I'm excited to see, where her basketball career takes her. She's the older sister of soccer player, freshman phenom Zach Taylor, who I had a chance to cover a couple months ago. So that's a fun little connection I got to put together. But you proved me wrong. You said it going into this game. Timberline was the team to beat. And, I thought I had one on this one, but ultimately, yeah, that's mine right there.
I'm coming.
Yep. No, we'll get that basketball one. But really, it was a back and forth game for most of it. Timberline pulled away in the fourth quarter, but prior to that, I mean, Howell, is it Audrey Howell?
Avery Howell, yeah.
Avery Howell, excuse me. Sorry, Avery. She had a really nice game. She was kind of one of the leaders for Boise. They've got the pieces there. They're going to compete. We're going to see these two match up again. But ultimately, Timberline was the better team. I think they had more size. Their shooting was just – the shot selection was better. The passing was better. And the amount of mistakes made ultimately were the difference makers. But fun game at Boise High School. Appreciate Brian Barber for having us out there and letting us do our thing out there. But yeah, love to hear your thoughts on that one, AJ.
No, I mean I agree. It was a great basketball game. Audrey Taylor took over in the second quarter. She had 16 in the second. It might have been the third quarter.
I think it was the third.
It was the third quarter after halftime. That's right. Audrey Taylor had 16 in the third, ended up with 25, like you said, and then a double-double from Sophie Glancy. It's funny because those two are high school teammates, and they're both going to Northern Arizona together to play basketball, which is Division I. And a couple Division I, potential D1 players on Boise. Ella Nelson, she shot it decent. She had 11. And then Avery Howell, who's a sophomore, she was their leading scorer. She had 17. She will be a Division I basketball player. They're big. She's going to, I believe it's Southern Utah. Her name, oh man, Ashley. I think it's Ashley Banks. She's going to. Yeah, she's going to Southern Utah. Good basketball game. Boise came out hot on fire, held them to 2 points, and we both thought it was a wrap. And then all of a sudden, Audrey Taylor happened, like you said.
Yep.
And
next matchup, ultimately, we do need to see more from Banks because she had a quiet game. Defensively, she did all right, but offensively, they needed to get her more involved if they were going to take care of the West.
Yeah, she was not. She didn't get many touches, and maybe they didn't like the matchup with Glancy. But you've got to utilize a Division I post. I mean, that's all there is to it. Even if it's working off of her or her setting screens, creating mismatches, screen and rolling to the basket. If she catches rolling to the basket, nobody's getting in her way. She's physical, and she can finish around the rim. So she does need to be implemented better. I completely agree, especially if they're going to beat that team. But Timberline, it looks like it's theirs to lose, especially getting down like that on the road and being able to come back and get the lead they got and control the game. Also, shout out to Piper Davis. She's a dog on defense, younger sister of Flynn Davis, the sniper over there for the T-line boys. But Piper Davis was a dog on defense. She was facilitating. I think she ended up with 6 points, probably had 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a couple steals. She did a really good job. She's a nice piece away from those other two. So I like Timberline. Allie Cox came off the bench. She gives Glancy a break from time to time. She's a big-time volleyball player, sophomore. She brings them in some extra size. So I like Timberline. And ever since Naya's gone out, I think it's Timberlines to lose.
I agree.
Exciting stuff. If you guys didn't catch it, I'm sorry if you guys weren't watching our Instagram stories, but hopefully we'll be bringing you more content from the girls' side of things as the season goes along. But it was a great game, and we had the coverage for you. A lot of high quality basketball from the girls' side there in that one game, in that one gym. So that's actually the whole point of what we're trying to do, is trying to highlight these athletes that you otherwise may not have heard of, because like Ty said, there just unfortunately hasn't been a ton of exposure, and we're trying to do our best. We're not there yet to be the perfect team, but we believe we have the assets on this team to be able to do that, and that's what we're trying to do. And that was some high quality basketball played at Boise High School. As we get back into the 5A boys, you guys had a chance to, I know AJ was over here checking this one out, and you had some things to say about Mountain View. We already know, the Meridian started 0-2. We talked about that for a second. They're struggling and whatnot, but Mountain View is who we want to highlight on that one. So AJ, talk to us.
Yeah, dude, I was really, really impressed. I mean, Ty said what Meridian looks like. The loss of Josh Christensen, or not having him there yet or at all, for me is does not make them as good as they could be. I've said that since before the season. Thacker needs to be back and be that other scorer alongside Ramos, like Ty was saying. But once again, they have guys that know how to win. They football players that need to get into basketball shape. They need to figure it out. A new group. I think they will. I think it won't be till maybe after the new year. Coach Sanders is a good enough coach. That staff, I think, is the best staff in the league. They'll figure it out. Mountain View, for me, was a big surprise. I knew they had a plethora of senior guards. They start 4 senior guards and the top junior in the league. Those senior guards have all been successful, and they've won a district championship together at the JV level as sophomores. Baylor Perrin was not on that team. He was starting varsity as a sophomore. So they've got guys that know how to win. They got guys that like each other. They got guys that understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. And then you implement Nate Ojokwu, who had 3 dunks in the first quarter, including a lob. Their first basket of the season was a cock back, we're here, by Ojokwu. He ended up with 18. Baylor Perrin ended up with 20. Baylor Perrin has been in the weight room and completely changed his body, and he was the quickest player on the floor. He was making plays all over the place. He was hitting threes. He was facilitating. More importantly, he was locking up. And when you talk about him having the ability, because he is a dog. He has started since a sophomore. He's been there, done that with Noah White, been to the tournament, all that type of stuff. He's a dog. And then you implement him with the Logsdon brothers, who are 2 of the best on-ball defenders in the league, and then Zach Bennett, who's one of the best all-around defenders in the league. And then you got 6'6" in the middle with Ojokwu, who's a force and can block shots and can run like a deer. And all of them can shoot it. And Bennett's a slasher. And then you bring 6'3" Dyson Judd off the bench who can shoot it. You bring Owen McBride, the sophomore. He's a dog on defense. He can score. He gets up and down too. Big-time football player. He had a breakout season this year as a sophomore on the football field for the league champs. He's a beast. And then Dawson Wall didn't even play, and he's one of their best shooters. He's 6'4". He was on the bench. I think he has a small injury. And then Brevin Bender, who's out for the year. If they were all the way healthy, I may be picking them to finish second in the league, probably behind Owyhee, maybe first with their experience, because Owyee's so young. Bender being out changes that for me. But, dude, this team was impressive. They could end up, not even kidding, I still think they could end up making a run at the league title, depending on what Owyhee does, if they stay healthy, and if Jack Payne can stay out of foul trouble, like we saw him against American Fork. He was in foul trouble. I think that's why they ended up losing that game. But Mountain View is real. Heads up, because they are coming, and that's a team that everybody should pop their eyes open and watch out for. They're sick.
Dope. Great game over there the other night. It's going to be exciting watching Mountain View moving forward. So the last game we'd like to break down real quick was the game of the week this week. So you saw it coming up throughout the week. Cherry made an awesome highlight for it to get us pumped up for the game of the week. He showed you guys his little trailer. We were all there. The whole crew was there. It was myself, Ty, AJ, and Cherry. Shout out to Middleton for allowing us to come over there and do what we love to do and give you guys a coverage. I thought the atmosphere was pretty solid. I thought Eagles showed out too. Like, their student section was legit. Their parents were legit. One thing I've been super impressed with, and I'm going to give a shout out to Eagle, is their fan base. I think for the most part, they've done pretty good in football. There's been a couple games we've called them out for too, but I liked how the parents got into it for like the cheering back and forth with the student section. And then the Middleton student section does exactly what they should do. They drown them out. I thought the atmosphere was legit. That's exactly what a student section should be doing. They start doing their thing. You drown them out with yours and you go back and forth. Shout out to both student sections, but the parents as well for getting into it. Awesome. Middleton was a great atmosphere.
Baby. They brought the energy.
They did.
Game of the week, that's right.
It was fantastic. I want to just touch base real quick on Talmadge. We talked about Talmadge Stuckey a little earlier. I mean, he finished with 17 points, 6 rebounds, and an assist. And him and Owen, I think, had a combined 27 and 10 together. And you talked about it, Ty, about the guard play. And I wanted to kind of touch base on that. I was actually super impressed with them. But the one thing that I struggle with is their inability to hit free throws. AJ, you talked about their free throws against Rocky. Middleton comes in there 5 for 14 from the free throw line, and some of those were some big time. I mean, if you're going to be a big guy like Mike Day, Medeiros, and Sawyer, you've got to hit your free throws. I think Day was 3 for 9, and that's okay. Like you're gonna have off nights, and that's fine. But if you're going to be the big guy getting physical, like I thought they did a pretty good job of this game, getting a little bit more physical around the basket, you're going to earn it. Okay, you get the foul that you needed, but you got to hit those shots. You've got to knock those shots down. That's big time basketball right there, is to hit your free throws. Whereas, you look over at Eagles side of things and they were 10 for 13 from the free throw line. Okay. And one of those misses, I think, was at the end of the game on the front end of a 1-and-1, but for the most part, they were hitting their free throws. So that can make a huge difference in the game, but I was super impressed, like Ty said, with the guard play. I thought Talmadge did an amazing job. However, in the second half of that game, I thought Talmadge was a little bit quieter. I thought they didn't run through him as much as they should have, the offense running through him. The first half, he was electric, and there is a big reason that Middleton had a 9-point lead in that game at one point before Eagle popped off with like 3 threes in a bucket. Like, holy crap, that was crazy. But Talmadge was doing his thing, and then it seemed like after halftime, he didn't have that, either the momentum stopped or they didn't run it through him. I don't know what happened, but Talmadge wasn't really heard of as much from the scoring side of things in the second half. But anyway, wow, I just pulled an AJ. We'll call that. I just squeaked again. So he pulled a guru earlier. I pulled an AJ just now. So here we go. Shots fired. I love the game. I called Eagle winning by double digits. If they would have knocked down those free throws at the end instead of missing the front end of the 1-on-1, I would have been close to hitting that mark. Ty said it though. He goes, I don't think it's going to be double digits, but I do think Eagle pulls the win.
Go,
okay.
Baby.
I'm going to have a talk with Gage Jones about that. No, no, it was an awesome game. I think we all pretty much picked Eagle. I was excited about that game. I thought it was high quality basketball, very electric, and a pretty close game up until about the last 3 or 4 minutes when Eagle pulled away. But I'm going to start with Ty. Give us your breakdown of the game of the week.
Yeah, I mean, really, you kind of touched on we've kind of touched on a lot of it. Going back to Talmadge, really not going through him in the second half. I know that they were probably looking to get Medeiros involved, but Donovan Jones wasn't having any of that. Held him to 8 points in the game. I understand why they're playing Medeiros at the wing, but when you're doing that, throw Sawyer and Mike Day down low. Have two big bodies down there. No other team in the state has this kind of size at 4A level, 5A level. Definitely not the girls level. Spoiler alert. Use these guys. Use them together. The 5 of Owen, Talmadge, Mike Day, Sawyer, and Medeiros, that might be the best unit in the state. So get them all on the court at the same time. And I like that they've separated things at times and gotten different guys going, but ultimately you got to use your best guys at what they're best at. And I don't think that we've seen that so far. But hats off to the Eagle Mustangs. I mean, at one point in time, there was a stretch in the game where I think that there was like 6 threes made back and forth between both teams. It was the most electric atmosphere we've seen. I don't even think we saw something that electric last year. So this was a primetime game. I think we picked a pretty good game to be the game of the week. Like you said, the Eagle fans, impressive the turnout that they had out there and how loud they were. As I'm driving out to Middleton in the fog and in the boonies, I'm like, wow, this is really kind of far out here. And then I show up and there's just Eagle faithful everywhere. So that was really impressive. And ultimately that helped them win because they were just as loud, if not louder than Middleton for most of the game. And like you said, the parents were the difference maker. You could hear the Middleton parents. They were cheering, getting after it. But the Eagle parents, that was like a separate student section.
Yep.
But yeah, we saw our boy Ethan Makita getting the boys going up, getting the student section going. Yes, sir. Been lifting. All around, just a great game. I'm impressed with what Pickett has done this year coaching wise. He still kind of has his 2 units that he'll use, but I saw more implementing like a 1-player switch. So like Gage was on the starting unit, but he puts in the second unit and then he'll sub Gage Jones in, and just kind of gave him different looks. And I liked that. I thought he did a really good job of getting different guys out there that complemented each other. And ultimately, it ended up in some really great runs for these guys. This year, I think that the Eagle Mustangs are a little bit more balanced. Their team last year, I think their starting 5 was one of the best in the state. But we didn't get to see them on the court as much as I would have liked. So this year, they kind of have the depth to do that system a little bit better, which ultimately might be kind of scary for the rest of the state, like you said. I mean, them in Mountain View right now, I haven't seen Owyhee play. We know that they've got the talent, but Eagle and Mountain View, watch out, everybody, because they got some guys. It's going to be fun to see. I can't wait for that game in particular. Eagle Mountain View, I don't know when that is, but must-see TV for sure.
Absolutely. AJ, do you have anything to add to that? I know Eagle is a bunch of your guys over there, and we've already talked about it. All 3 of us have mentioned it, but is there anything else that you wanted to touch base on before we move forward?
Yeah, I'm just going to give my guys at Eagle a shout out. I mean, they've all improved just dramatically, and Ty just said it. Cody Pickett. So these Eagle kids I had for years, they needed to learn how to win. We lost a lot of tournaments in the championship game. Very, very good, deep group. They've added pieces, Dallin Turpin, Caden Johnson. These guys, they needed to implement kind of some toughness and learning how to win, and I think Cody Pickett brings exactly that. When he was hired, that's what I said. I said, I think this is the guy with these kids that can make it happen. They had a good year last year. They were 0.9 seconds away from finishing 5th, and then a fluke inbounds play. Rigby scores and ends up winning the game in the 5th place game. But Ty said it. These guys are extremely deep. They can play 10 to 15 guys and be fine. Cole Pugh, the sophomore, had a really nice game, 10 points. Donovan Jones, 11 points. He showed he's one of the best facilitators in Idaho. Rebounding, he's one of the best defenders in Idaho. Donovan Jones is above average at everything. He's extremely important. He cannot get in foul trouble, just like Jack Payne can't get in foul trouble for Owyhee for them to be at their best. Gage Jones had 11, and he was efficient. He didn't shoot a ton, but he was efficient, hitting shots. He brought the emotion, the leadership. Tristan Fleming, their point guard, not necessarily looking to score a bunch, but he dominated the game at one point with his facilitating. Alley-oop, fine shooter, alley-oop, dime. He had 8 or 9 assists, took the game over in a small spurt that separated them. That was impressive. And then, of course, Landon White, who not a lot of people know about, but they better, because he's averaging 16 a game right now. He played I was interested to see how Landon, being 6'6", played against these bigger guys, because he's dominated in the past against smaller competition. He played well. He was their leading scorer. He tied Talmud Stuckey as leading scorer in the game. And then, of course, Hudson Van Alphen flipped the game on its head. That game could have turned into a blowout. Middleton, Eagles on the road. Middleton finally playing well. Defending state champs back at home for the first time. Hudson Van Alphen, the sophomore. Whoa, he's a sniper, sharpshooter. He got him right back in it, hit 4 threes, and had a pull-up jumper, which was impressive as well in that second quarter. Him and Stuckey were going back and forth, like Ty said. It went Van Alphen, Stuckey, Van Alphen, Stuckey, Van Alphen. It was crazy. And then Stuckey hits the buzzer beater. That was wild. But Eagle is real. Eagle is deep. Tyler Peters didn't have a great game. I'm hearing he can just score in bunches off the bench. Caden Johnson, like I said, he's a guy you can't leave open. He can fill it up. They got shooters everywhere. Gardner Lake, Miles Matarita, Jackson Elder's a guy they bring in that is a dog on defense. There's too many guys to mention for Eagle that are specialists in certain areas, and we didn't even see it all. And they found a way to win in a hostile environment against a team that didn't look good, but showed who they were, I think. And Eagle's a team that I think with the leadership, because it starts at the top, I think they could win the whole thing. I think they got enough dog in them, especially now with Cody Pickett at the helm, to win the whole thing.
Shout out again to Cody Pickett. Coach Pickett did a great job. One highlight I noticed is his inbounds plays, he reminds me of Steve Kerr in a sense. He always does a pretty good job at getting his guys in the right positions to either score off the inbounds or have a position, like a chance to score. There's like 3 separate times through that game. He calls timeout at the right time, draws up an inbounds play. One was an alley-oop. I think they tried a noop on the other side. Like it was a little, pass the ball around, get him in the right position. They missed it. I believe it was a layup that was missed or whatever. But 3 separate times he got him in position. So another shout out to Cody Pickett. That was just one of the integral pieces of the game that I noticed. Like, it's always like when the Warriors call timeout, Steve Kerr figures out a way to get him to score. It pisses me off. What were you going to say, Ty?
There's one last moment of the game that I want to touch on. So early in the first quarter, Donovan Jones had made a couple silly errors. I think he had a bad pass and let somebody score on him. And he gets subbed out and he's going to the bench. And I hear someone yell his name from the stands. And I look up and it was his dad. And I was like, oh boy, how's that going to go? Because I don't know his dad. But all his dad does is points at his head, just be smart. And after that moment, I saw Donovan just like completely compose himself and then went out and had a great game facilitating. They ran their offense through him, and defensively, he shut down the 4A State Player of the Year. So I enjoyed that moment.
Stanford.
Exactly. I mean, it was cool to see like his demeanor immediately changed from just that one quick interaction with his dad telling him to just be smart.
And I want to touch on that. That is extremely impressive for a kid to be able to do with the immaturity and the softness kids these days. I mean, that is so difficult to feel like you let your team down, coming off the court, gather yourself, go back in, and in a sense, dominate the game as a utility guy, doing everything well, leading your guys. That's not easy to do. I do want to give one more shout out to Dallin Turpin, who comes off the bench. They're big off the bench. He did a really good job on the glass and defensively for them. Yep. And we've talked about how big they are compared to the rest of the 5A SIC. Dallin Turpin will be a factor this year as well. They have so many guys, but Ty, I didn't know that happened, but it makes sense that Donovan Jones would be the guy to be able to do that. So
super cool. Eagles, a bunch of dogs, guys. What a game of the week. Like Ty said, we picked a pretty good one to be at. That was pretty solid. Shout out to Middleton for showing out. Shout out to Eagle for showing out. Absolutely fantastic. Now, up north, there's this team, Lake City, we've been talking about, and we've given them a lot of love. There's been some back and forth discussions on whether or not they should be top of the power rankings, Owyhee, who's this, that, and the third, whatever. I want to talk about this. We have a hidden gem this week. His name is Mr. Colton Mitchell. This dude is averaging 33 points a game the first week of the season. So we want to give a shout out to Colton. And I want AJ, this is your boy, and I want you to give some love to this guy. So Colton is our hidden gem of the week. And we love this guy. The way he's been hooping right now has been absolutely insane. And shout out to Coach Buff up north for getting us the footage of that too. Sam, you're a stud. But yeah, talk to us about what you've seen from Colton this first couple of games. And are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I said at the start of the year, I think he's the best guard in the state, and he's the most lethal scorer in Idaho. I mean, Titus year out is right there, 1A, 1B, depending on what you're looking for. Colton Mitchell has had 38 in the first game of the year. Like, we're all talking about, hey, it takes teams a while, to find a rhythm. Last year, he had 34 in his first game of the year as a sophomore. This year, he has 38, follows it up with 27. And they beat 2 solid teams from over in Spokane. They beat Mount Spokane, who everyone thought was going to be a closer game because Zach Johnson was out, and he's one of the best players in Idaho, one of the best athletes, if not the best overall athlete in Idaho. And he's been on that team and started since he was a freshman. He didn't even play. And then he didn't play against University as well, who's a solid team. Colton Mitchell, you cannot give him any space, like at all. And the thing is, he can do it off the dribble. He has a step back. He can hit from 25 feet. And when you try to get up in him, he's shifty and savvy and quick enough and explosive enough to get to the basket. And he's a good enough facilitator. You've got 6'10" Blake Buchanan, who's getting looks from Kansas and Virginia and Oregon State. He's down there waiting for him. He had three dunks in, I think, both their first 2 games. And so Colton Mitchell is a guy who potentially could be Gatorade Player of the Year as a junior. He is the biggest X factor out of anybody. Like, if he's not there, they completely change. I think he's more important to his team than anybody else. Maybe Jack Payne as well. But Colton Mitchell can score at all 3 levels. He's starting to throw it down now. He's growing. He's filling out. He lives in the gym. He lives in the weight room. Him and Buchanan are constantly in there pushing each other. And that's why they're our number one team. They got guys like that. A kid's averaging 33 points a game. That's not normal at any level. There's nobody in the NBA averaging that. And so Colton Mitchell, that will probably slow down, maybe, but because people are going to start focusing on him, these teams from the North know who he is and know what they need to do to slow him down. But they have so many other guys. Nathan Hawking, the transfer, he's really stepped up in their first 2 games. Once Johnson comes back, this team's a highlight reel, a walking highlight reel. And Colton Mitchell is special. And I appreciate the gear, Colton. Thank you, my guy. You and Mr. Buchanan hooked it up. I like that.
Yes, sir.
So dope. Shout out Colton, this week's Hidden Gem. Lake City's doing some big things. So we're going to get into our power rankings real quick for the 5A based on what we've seen in the first week and a half, if you want to count the Saturday before, right? So first week basically of the season. Here is our updated power rankings. We've got Lake City, Owyhee, Madison, Eagle, Mountain View, Coeur d'Alene, Lewiston, Rigby, Centennial, Meridian, T-Line, and Thunder Ridge. Now, we're going to show you the updated ones on our actual page that have the arrows. So this is what we had, and we're going to be pointing the arrows to where everything's at. So talk to us, Ty, about what the adjustments are. This is what we had and where you see teams.
Yeah, so we see our top 4 teams. They all stay right where they were originally. Madison lost their first game of the season, but it sounds like to a really good 6A team out of Utah. That's still a very talented team with a bunch of depth. So they've got guys. AJ in particular felt justified to keep them there. Going down to the 5 through 12 really is where we see already quite a bit of change. We touched on Mountain View. That's a scary team. Ultimately, I would say a contender. I know it's only been 1 game, but it just kind of feels like they've got the guys and the energy right now as well. Coeur d'Alene, haven't seen them play, but just with how impressive Mountain View was, had them go up. They jumped Coeur d'Alene. I believe Coeur d'Alene actually has a game today versus Moscow, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how they do. 4A team that they should handle well, but see how they do tonight. We kept Lewiston at 7, moved Rigby up 2 spots. They had a great win this week. They got a bunch of guys returning, like AJ had kind of brought up before the show. Still not sure about Taylor Freeman, but that could be another guy that they get. So, I mean, as far as the East goes, that's the team to look out for sure. Centennial, with that rough opening performance, they have our biggest drop of the week, a 3-spot drop for them. That will likely change. I think we'll see them, potentially go up and down a little bit this year. I think we saw it even from your club team this year, AJ. Just the live or die by the 3, right? You can either get going, but then just like teams at the NBA level, you just have those nights where you're not hitting. So we could see them, have maybe a rough week that they drop 2 spots, or they have 2 weeks where they're just lights out and they move up 5 spots. So Centennial is going to be an interesting one, I think, all season long. But they got the guys, as we all know. Meridian is another team that we see drop this week. They dropped 2 spots. And that they're going to need to get it figured out quick if they want to stay in this top 12 bracket. Really, we know they've got the coaching, they've got a lot of pieces, but they got to get it figured out sooner than later, or they're going to, potentially have a rough season. Timberline, we have them staying right where they were. Only 1 game this week, 35-30 victory over Bora. The score doesn't shout, oh, that's crazy impressive, but that's just Timberline basketball. If they hold a team to under 40 points, that's their goal, right? And all they have to do is score 1 more point than them. So defensive, their offensive system is a little bit different than really any other team in the Valley that I know about. But they've got the guys to, stay in the mix for sure. Last in our power rankings, Thunder Ridge. And now this 12 spot, it kind of gets interesting because really there's 3 or 4 teams in this mix here. You got Highland, Rocky, Skyview. We ultimately went with Thunder Ridge. They pulled off a victory this week while some of those other teams I just mentioned, they all lost. So ultimately gave Thunder Ridge the nod on this one. We'll see if they're able to sustain that as well.
Man, this has been, as you guys can probably imagine, based on what we've already talked about the last hour, it's extremely difficult to put some of the teams where they're at. There's a lot of talent. And even Centennial, like Ty just said, and AJ's talked about it, like this team can be super hot. So, yeah, they might be like bummed about where we put them, but, give it, like we can see them compete with some of the top dogs. And we're going to see that this upcoming week as well when they take on Owyhee. We're going to talk about what's coming up this week in regards to our coverage and the basketball around the state. So let's pull this up and talk about what's up for the week and what we can expect to see from us. So which games are we going to be at? I'll start with saying my plan is to be at the Vallivue Rocky game on Tuesday night. I would love to see that game. I'm going to hope to get that covered, and I plan to be there unless something happened. But I will be there, and I think, AJ, are you going to be there?
I will definitely be there Tuesday to show Vallivue the love they deserve and see if Rocky can show us something.
Okay, so Ty, what about you? Are you going to be at the Tuesday game? Do you know?
I think that I can, in fact, make that. Yes.
We're going to do our best.
We're getting the band together. That's what I'm hearing.
We're gonna do our best to get over there. So you guys show out over at Rocky. That's going to be a fun one for us to go, like AJ said, show Vallivue some love and see how Rocky responds. They're looking better. So Vallivue Rocky, and I will also personally be Saturday at the big game. Owyhee Centennial is what we're trying to get to as a crew. We're going to call that our 5A game of the week on Saturday, and I will be at that one as well. So AJ, where are you going to be this week?
I am going to make it to Preston at BK. I think we're actually going to do a dual game of the week. Since it's week 2, I think it's appropriate. We have 2 games of the week, a 4A and a 5A. Really big time 4A game. Preston comes to town at BK. That's going to be a real deal game. That's at 3:00 on Saturday at BK. And then 3 hours later, of course, a game that I have had circled for months since the schedules came out. There may not be a game that has more highlights in it this year than Owyhee at Centennial on Saturday. I know Owyee's ready for this game. They just started 0-1, tough loss to American Fork. Jack Payne was in foul trouble, low-scoring game. They've told me they're ready for the Centennial game. They want to shut me up with all the hype I'm giving Centennial. But that's going to be a fun one. I'm going to that one as well. There's another game that I found out is happening this week. And since we have a 4A game of the week and a 5A game of the week, there is a game of the week of a 4A versus a 5A, and that is going to be Hillcrest against Madison. My goodness. Madison needs their point guard, one of the top sophomores in Idaho, Ike Sutton, back for them to, I think, have a shot to win that game. I think he will be coming back, but Hillcrest Madison's another one. I think that's Thursday. That's going to be crazy. So just great games this week. I'll be there Tuesday at Rocky, and then BK, and then Centennial.
Awesome. Ty, where are you going to be at, man?
Yeah, we'll hit the Rocky Vallivue game tomorrow, and I'm actually looking at this Meridian versus Skyview matchup on Thursday. Not sold if I'm going to make it to that, but that's an intriguing matchup to me with kind of 2 middle tier SIC teams, if you will. They could really tell the tale for each of these teams' season. So that might be one I check out Thursday. And then, of course, like AJ said, I think we're all hyped for Owyhee versus Centennial. I will be there as well.
I actually definitely am going to that Meridian Skyview game as well on Thursday. I did not know that game was this week. I haven't even looked at the schedule yet. That's my bad. But I got family on both those teams. Mr. Jace Allen right here, my guy. And then, of course, my boy Corbin Meisner and everybody over at Meridian. So I will be there. Ty, I would love to hang out with you.
See you there, fun guy.
Good times. Yeah, we're going to be bringing you guys the coverage. Cherry will probably be there alongside with us on a few of those games too. So we'll get all the information out to you guys. Follow us on Instagram to find out more. All right, so we're stoked about it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. In the future of this show, we're going to be trying to bring on some special guests from time to time. So if there's somebody you guys want to hear from, if you guys are listening to this, you're a follower of the page, of the channel, whatever, and you want to hear from somebody, whether it's an athlete or a coach, let us know. We're going to reach out to them. Ty and I were talking about this right before we started recording. We would love to bring on somebody, even 5 to 10 minutes, pick their brain, talking about the season, get some good interviews on here to bring a little new dynamic to the show. So that's it from us, guys. I want to make sure that if you are a company that is looking to work with us, we are always wanting to work with, especially those around the Valley, right? If you are a business owner or you know somebody that would be interested in working alongside with us as a sponsor, we would love to get the word out there for you guys to do the same for us. We are looking to work with people here. We want to work with good people, okay? That's what we do. That's what we're about. So hit us up. We're happy to chat about that kind of stuff as well. So parents, anyone who has a business or knows somebody who would be interested in sponsoring, let us know. We'd love to work with you. On behalf of Ty from Boise Sports Talk, go to follow him on Instagram. AJ from EBC Media, go follow him on Instagram. Lane from Cherry Films, go follow him on Instagram. I am Shane from the Game Time Guru. Follow me on Instagram, please. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network. This is Gym Session. We're signing off. Take care.